Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you may be joining us from. This is the 5th training of the OFSN Sustainability Network Climate and Health Research Lab, and we are presently in the fall 2024 cohort. Thank you so much to everybody that has joined. If this is your first time joining, I hope not. Introduce yourself in the chat and where you might be joining from. Today, we have an amazing speaker. But before I go into that, before I said to introduce him and he would start a session, I would love for us to go through a brief agenda of what we have for you today. Today, we are going to have something a little bit different because we are finally opening up the application for the research mentorship program. That is the second phase of the research lab training. So by the time we are done with our speaker today, we would also try to open the form for everybody to see, and we'll take you through how to fill the form. Then we have a couple of announcements for you as well before we close off the meeting today. So last session, we had the opportunity of engaging with Dr. Vasundhara Nair. She took us through research, data analysis, and interpretation. So many of you were able to learn about combining mixed methods using just quantitative analysis or qualitative analysis. She mentioned some tools and softwares that would make all of this easy for you. And I believe that lots of you, most of you, learned a lot from that session. So today we are getting into the writing phase training for the research. And if you do not have your books, your notes, your pens, and everything for you to learn today, I suggest you rush and go get that now because we have an amazing speaker here today. So today we have Dr. Zakari Ali. He is the research fellow at the MRC Unit. His research is majorly focused on food security and nutrition. He has worked with he's currently working at the Lancet Countdown. He has conducted the research for the climate change and health report, focusing majorly on Africa. He's currently heading the Lancet Countdown region in Africa and trying to put together all the data and information that we need for that region. He graduated from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. He had his PhD there sometime last year. There is a lot to say about Dr. Zakari Ali, but one thing that I have to say is we have an expert amongst us today, and he has prepared something big, something amazing for us all to learn from today. So please, while the session is going on, please be attentive. Do not unmute yourself. And during the session, we are going to be having a little Q&A. So the Q&A is going to be different from what we've been having before. While the session is going on, when Dr. Ali asks a question, please feel free to raise your hand and you will be asked to unmute yourself, and then you ask your question in less than 1 minute. So thank you so much, everyone. We look forward to an amazing session. Over to you, Dr. Ali.
Thank you, Dami, and thanks to everyone who organized. And thank you, everyone, for joining. I think this is, I hope you can all hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly well.
Yeah. This is an important session given the current need for evidence on climate and health in Africa. And when you conduct the research, it is really important to write it up and then to tell people what you found. So when I was asked to do this, I was so happy. I'm like, okay, what can I say? Maybe I thought through when I was starting, the things that I didn't know that I think I can tell people so they don't have to wander around like how I did when I started. So I hope you find this very useful, and feel free when I talk and there's something, just feel free, raise your hand, ask your question. I want this to be very interactive. I don't want to have a long talk and then in the end we have Q&A. Sometimes people forget what they wanted to ask at some point. So just feel free. Is my slide moving? So let me see if I get my slide to move. are some of the tech stuff that okay, I just wanted to show some data from the Lancet countdown. We've been monitoring some progress on climate and health over some years, and we monitor how much research is coming out globally around the world, how many papers are being published on climate and health. And as you can see on this graph, I think Africa is very huge, and the proportion of research that is on climate and health in the region is actually very small, as you can see from this pie chart. And if we break it down by country, you see that some countries there's virtually like no research at all. And most of the papers are from South Africa, they are from Ethiopia, they are from Kenya, they are from Ghana, Nigeria, and Africa is broader than that. So what we hope at the Lancet Countdown, and I think what this effort is wherever you are across Africa or any other lower and middle income country, to be able to publish your research so that we can build this evidence base. So today, what I'm going to focus on is, I have assumed that maybe you have your data ready, everything, you just want to write up, and what can I do? And so we would talk about preparing to write a journal article, because this is one of the best ways to make your research known. The structure of a journal article, writing a scientific paper. So we'll go through section by section, each section, what you are supposed to know, what you're supposed to do, the language you are supposed to use, and then editing. This is really, really important. And this is where I'll have some practice and ask people to try and rephrase some stuff so that we will have some little bit of practice. I'm sure you'll get some of the slides so you can practice whilst you're at home as well. And then getting into publishing it itself, I will not talk details about it, but I think once you get your paper ready and you've written it so well with your mentors and everything, dealing with the journal will not be that much difficult. And one other thing I would talk about is the ethics. Research is not just about being interested in doing something. It's also about doing it right and doing it in a way that doesn't affect other people or other communities. And I'll end by talking about dissemination of research. Okay, you have your research, whether you've published it or not, you need to tell others, and then you need to get feedback. So in a form of a conference or poster or any other form that you get the research known. Because if you do research and nobody knows about it, maybe it's just like not doing it. So what this session will not include is what is research. I assume that this can be searched or you already know about it. Defining a research question, research methods and study designs. I'm sure there are other webinars that address these, and then data analysis and interpretation. Hopefully these have been covered by previous sessions. So I was thinking broadly what this could mean for people who are listening. I've not had a chance to understand who is in the room and or what their background are, but it covers a broad range of background. If you are still doing your undergrad, at some point you will do some dissertation, and I don't think it is the best to just leave your dissertation at the library level. Normally nobody opens it, so it is better you work with your supervisor at some point to get it published. If you're doing a master's and PhD, this is really, really important, especially for MPhil and PhD students. In some schools, it is a requirement. You have to publish before you can finish. But if it is not a requirement in your school, I think it's better after you submit your thesis to try and publish it so that other people can. Because if you are at maybe the University of Nigeria, for example, and you do a very excellent thesis, if I'm sitting in Gambia, it will be very difficult for me to see that research and maybe give you credit for it. But once you publish it, wherever everyone is, they'll be able to find it. So I really encourage everyone to try and publish their work. But I'm going to also show you how you can publish this work. If you recently graduated from undergrad or your master's or your PhD and you're struggling to get some publications, maybe this is also good for you. People who are already in the field, doctors, allied health sciences, sometimes people are in the field, they have a lot of data in their hospital or their district or their region, and they just don't know how to write it up so that they can publish it. I think after this session, you feel a little confident about how to go about that. And then university academics, we know this principle of publish or perish. So if you are a junior lecturer in a university and you are struggling to go through, you don't know how to go about stuff, it's important, and other people as well. Okay, you have your data and everything, and deciding when to publish. So writing it's not like it's difficult, but people do procrastinate a lot. I'm like, okay, I'm going to write next month, I'm going to write after this exam, I'm going to write after this, whatever. It's important to decide very early that you want to publish and to start something. But the best thing is to seek guidance from people in your field who have more experience, like your supervisor, your mentor. You ask, okay, this study I did, or for my master's thesis, I want to publish it. What do you recommend? They will tell you stuff. And then another way is to present your work at some place, either at a conference or in your department or at your school, where people who have published before can give you some feedback. And based on that feedback, some people can tell you, no, you cannot keep this data. You have to publish this because this is important information. So you find out, oh, okay, this can be publishable. And some of the feedback they will give you during that presentation, you can use that to tweak your work to try to improve. They will say, okay, how about this? How about that? So presenting your work it can be important even before you publish it. But if you want to publish, you have to publish it in a journal, and you need to choose which journal you have to publish your work in. And that is really important. For people who are doing undergrad or master's or PhD, or you have your thesis already, you've already written up stuff, and you have to now decide where you want to send that to. I'm sure that if you send your thesis to any journal, it will come back to you in about 1 day time, because this is not the way that journal articles work. So, but if you have done the research and you want to send it to a journal, it is important to identify which journal do you want to send it to. Sometimes you can be more ambitious, send it to a big journal, but here again, your mentors can try to help you. Okay, this your data is good enough, we should send it to this. But it is also important for you to look through some of the journals that you cite in your work, and then try to read about how these journals work. Look for journals that have published work similar to yours, and then you have to consider journals that have published work that you will cite. One important thing is, if you want to submit a paper to a journal, that journal has instructions on how you have to construct this work. The sections of your report for your thesis will be completely different from how the journal wants you to submit. And if you have submitted work to different journals, you see that different journals have so much different rules about how they want you to structure the work, how they want you to do everything. So you need to read that, what they call, I think, instructions to authors or author guidelines. Other things, you look at the aims and scope of the journal, depending on the field you want to publish in. Sometimes the journal will not accept it, not because your work is not good, just because you didn't choose the right journal. They stop publishing the things that you have sent to them, or they're not interested in the area that you have written about. It doesn't mean your work is bad, just that you didn't do your homework well. The audience who will be reading this one, if you publish in a journal that is not open access and stuff like that, you know that the audience are going to be limited. The prestige, something like the Lancet, if you say the Lancet, you see that, I mean, it's over 100 years, so the prestige is there. They are known for high quality. The impact, which I think their impact factors, don't base much about it. There can be a very good journal with a low impact factor. I'll not talk much about impact factor, but it is important. And then access, whether open access, golden open access, the speed. There are some journals you send your paper to, and even up to 1 year, you've not heard from them. You need to look at these turnaround times as possible. The quality of reproduction of figures. Sometimes you send a high quality figure, and then when it is published, it's very blurred, nobody can read it. So it's important to read some recent papers from the journals to see how they do some of these things. Publication fees. These days, or even, I mean, for a long time, publishing is not for free. You are supposed to pay the journal to publish it, especially for open access. And if it is not some journals are completely open access, so you have to pay this article processing fee. Some journals do have what they call waiver. You have to look whether they have waivers, whether the waivers apply to your country. Sometimes they say there are waivers for this kind of countries or World Bank groupings, whether you're low income. So look at that, because it can be expensive. When you want to publish in the Lancet, for example, it's up to about 7,000 US dollars or up to 10,000 US dollars. And if you didn't check this up and you are not sure there's a waiver, after everything, your article is going to hang up a bit before you get this money, or they have to withdraw it, because if you don't pay this money, it's not going to be published. Once you identify the journal, it's very important to look at the instructions to the authors. If you are able to follow the instructions very, very, very well, it can even increase your chance that the journal will accept your paper. Then you have to consult these instructions whilst you are preparing your paper. You go and look, okay, they say we have to do this, you do that. I have to do this, you do that. Check the instructions again before submitting. Once you have made sure that everything is okay, you have to go back to check the instructions, check your paper before you submit. What these instructions normally help you to answer is, what categories of articles does this journal publish? There are some journals that publish only systematic reviews. Even if it's a good journal in your field and your work is not a systematic review, there's no way if you send your work to them, they're going to publish it. They're going to reject it, they will send it back to you and they say, oh, we don't publish these kind of articles. What is the maximum length of the article? The way you write in your thesis, they say, okay, 100,000 words. No journal is going to publish that. Sometimes some journals will say up to 3,000, 4,000 words. Make sure you try to stick to that. But if you didn't read the instructions well, you're going to miss this. And this is going to delay the publication of your work, because the editors are going to immediately see that your work is about 6,000. And this is beyond what they publish. The abstract, sometimes they say 200, 350, 400. All these will be there. It will tell you what sections to include, what are the guidelines for each of the sections, whether the journal has a template. Some journals do have a template. They already have a template with the sections, the subheadings. If such a template is there, there will be a link for you to download it. So it's really important to look at these guidelines very, very well. It will even tell you how many figures are allowed. Sometimes if you are doing this from your thesis, you might have about 20 tables and about 10 figures. No, you cannot publish all those in one single article. The journal will tell you we allow up to 4 tables and then maybe 3 figures. And you need to choose among your work, what are the most important tables I want to present? What are the most important figures I want to present? The references. This is really, really important, because the journal will tell you how it wants its references. So if you are converting your thesis into a publication, the way your university wants you to format your references would almost definitely be different from how the journal wants you to do this. And you need to read about it from the instructions. It will ask you, it will tell you about supplementary material, things that you cannot put in your article, but you can put it as a supplementary material, like what you call an appendix or an annex in your thesis. The things that you wanted to say that you cannot say because the journal is limiting you, you can put some of these stuff over there, and it will tell you how to format them, how you can submit your paper, whether it is electronic. But in the end, what I just want to say is, if you want to publish a paper in any journal, it is very, very important to read the instructions to the author. It will tell you almost everything you need about how to send a paper to them. Apart from reading the instructions, it's also very important to look at recent papers that have been published in this journal. Just read it and see how they have followed the instructions, how they've done different sections of the paper. This can be very important even than just reading only the instructions. I think recently some journals have become more flexible, even though they will say, oh, for your first draft, bring us any form, and then if we accept it, we are going to now let you structure it in the form that we want. But the editors and everybody working at the journal will be very happy if your first submission is according to their recommendations, because there are so many journals. Nobody wants to take an article that was formatted for another journal that didn't go through, and you are now sending it to us. So if I see that the format is not, I'm an editor for PLOS ONE, an academic editor. The moment I see that this article was possibly formatted for another journal, it clicks my mind. Was it rejected in another place and then sent to us? I don't want to be if it was rejected somewhere, there must be something wrong with it. So it is always better to format it according to how the journal wants it, even if they tell you, oh, you can send us any form. Okay, now I want to go through the structure of a typical journal article in the health and biomedical sciences. Normally, this is how it appears. You have your title, your abstract, there's introduction, there's methods, and discussion. If you have any form of article, this is how you can arrange it, and you can be sure that most of the journals in this field will accept articles like this. So the introduction is about what is the question? What are you trying to investigate here? And the methods talks about how did you try to answer it? The results, okay, what did you find? And the discussion, what does it mean? You found this and that. What does it mean for the field, for public health, for policymakers? I think we can now want to go into writing the different sections and what instructions or what tips you need to know going into them. So typically, this is how you would format your research paper. I just want to see if you can just raise by hand whether you have read a typical research paper before. Okay, let me say those who have, if you have not read a published paper before. Okay, how many people have not? You've not read any published paper before. Okay, maybe one. Maybe you've read, but it's not very clear. It's a published paper, but thank you. It looks most of you have read a published paper before, and you have a good idea. Maybe not, yeah, or maybe you didn't really notice how things are organized. But it starts with a title, their authors, the people who worked on it. There's an abstract that summarizes what they found. There's an introduction, methods, results, discussion. Sometimes there are acknowledgements, the people who gave them money or people who did some part of the research, but for some reason, they didn't contribute enough to the authors, and also references. Another by hand, if you have written a research paper before, whether you have been part of a research group that wrote a research paper, or you try to write a research paper, or you wrote some dissertation or thesis, any of this, if you have written it before, you can just show by hand. Okay. All right, good. Yeah, a lot of people have engaged in some form of writing before. If you can just put in the charts which of the sections you wrote first in just in about 30 minutes, which of the sections did you write first and why? I have only one response so far. All the people who raised their hands to say they've written before, which section did they write first? Okay, yeah, I have a fair bit of idea. It seems people are writing the abstract first. Well, there could be some reasons why, but you don't put the reason. There are people who say, okay, I do the literature review first, which can be a good idea. But I'll go through. If you are in academia, or if you want to publish, and if you're doing a lot of research, sometimes the best way to go about writing your article or your paper. For us, what we do is we start writing the methods. Then we write the results. Once you have the results, the methods, okay, this is what I want to investigate. This is the procedure I passed through to investigate it. The results tells you this is what I found, and then the discussion, what it means, before I come to the introduction, what others call the literature review. Depending on the level of education or the level, some of these can change a bit. You can naturally, if you are an undergrad or a master's student writing your thesis, you will normally do the literature review to try and understand what is already known about this. That's similar to the introduction before you can even refine your methods and then do them. So it's not wrong if you start with a literature review. But I will normally not start with the abstract. The abstract will be the last thing I'll write when I know the results, I've discussed them, I know what it means, and everything. So you have your abstract, and then you now come and write the title. And you will see how we can write all these going forward. When we do research in health and climate change, or even in different sectors, there are so many people normally. If you look at our recent Lancet Countdown publication, we have over 100 authors. Different people contribute different sections or different parts of the research. That is a bit complicated, but even with your own thesis, with your supervisor, when you come to, you want to publish it, your supervisor might say, this professor has this expertise that I think you should send your work to him so that he can contribute this. I want him to expand on this kind of discussion. So even though when you were doing your thesis, you were working with only your supervisor, when you come to publish it, there will be other people who have some expertise that you and your supervisor don't have, that you have to invite them to contribute in some way before you can publish. In terms of a typical research setting, when you have a project, there are different people on the project and different people working on different aspects. And there are advisors and other people. The way you assign authors is not because you know the person, or it's not just because the person is your supervisor. If the person is your supervisor and have not contributed significantly, they are not supposed to be an author on the paper. Don't just add people because he's a well-known researcher in the field, and you think that if his name is there, it's going to increase the likelihood of publication. This thing happen a lot. You write a paper and your supervisor just adds some random names. They're like, how? I don't even know this person, because maybe they are friends. He wants to help them to get a promotion. This is unethical. I'll talk about that later. But just bear in mind, the people you put on as authors, it is your responsibility as the first author, or if you are being added, just be careful that when something happens later, you will be held accountable. All of you will be responsible for the error. So if you have not contributed enough, just say, thank you very much, my contribution is not enough. I would better, maybe you just acknowledge what I did, and then that's it. Yeah. But when you see authors, you list people according to their contribution from the greatest, the first author, to the least. But normally in our field, the person who is listed last is actually not the last, the least contributor, but this is the head of the group. So when you are looking at author list, you will see that the first person is the one who has contributed most, and then going forward like that, until you get to the last person who has also contributed a lot, but he is the head of the group and he has overall control. So he has not contributed last. This is something you need to know. Let's see. And yeah, this is also important for our sisters, that you list your name consistently. Sometimes people change their names, but when you begin to publish, if you are Zakari Ali, make sure that almost all your papers, your name appears the same. Some people have so many names, they abbreviate. If you want to abbreviate, abbreviate throughout. If you want to expand your name, you have to expand it throughout. Even though some journals will tell you that some journals do have some instructions about maybe your last name, comma, and then everything is abbreviated. But make sure your name appears consistently throughout so that when people want to see the work you have done, we don't see your name in different variations. Nobody is able to track that. I think we are in the age of AI. I thought I mentioned about it. If you use AI for editing or whatever form that you use AI to help in your research, I will not comment on whether it is good or bad. We are in the age of technology. So as technology is evolving, you need to look at the guidelines. Some journals do have some guidelines about if you have used AI. But what you need to do is you have to mention it in your methods that at some point you use AI and how you use the AI. Or in the acknowledgement section, you can say the final editing or the final whatever was done by AI. Be honest about it, because some journals will have a way to check whether there was AI involved in all this or not. Or even, I mean, research is about honesty. If anything that helped you, whether it's a human being or it's some chat box or what, it's important to acknowledge it. If you acknowledge that you use R or Stata to do your analysis, then you should be able to acknowledge that you use ChatGPT to do something. It's as simple as that. But well, it's not enough to add ChatGPT as a co-author. So if you use Microsoft Word to write your work, you don't add Microsoft Word as a co-author to your paper, right? So, okay, now we will just go section by section according to how I think we should write papers, starting from the methods about how we did our research. So the method section is very, very important when you are writing your paper. And I've been editing and reviewing papers for some time now. One thing I've realized is that reviewers or editors place emphasis on the methods because they don't understand what you have done. You have presented all these beautiful results. Okay, how did you do that? How did you get to all these? This is your opportunity to explain step by step how you went about doing your research, and give sufficient evidence that if you did your research in Ethiopia, somebody in Nigeria can replicate the same results. Sometimes even your statistical code, you can make it online so that people can replicate your results. So nothing about research should be hidden, and this is your opportunity to explain very well. The things you know in your head, don't assume that the person who is reading your work knows. If you use whatever method, try and explain or present a citation so that the person can read more about the method you used. And for beginners, you have to write this in the past tense because you have already done the research. So we did this, we use this method, we use this procedure, not this will be used, as opposed to a proposal that you are now proposing to do something and then you are using the future tense. In the method section, you've already done it, so you have to write it in the past tense. Now you have explained how you did everything. You now want to explain what you found in the results section. This is also very, very important because sometimes you read some results section and you're like, what are you trying to tell us? What did you really find. You read the whole results section and you don't know what these people found. The results are all over the place. But if you take some of these steps, I'm sure you'll be able to refine your results so that people can be able to follow. So it is the core part of your paper. You have to present it in a logical order. Maybe you are looking at how heat affects pregnancy, how many women did you recruit? It's very important. From there, what did you do next? What did you measure? What statistical analysis? So the more you go deep into your results, the more complicated it becomes. You have to summarize your findings rather than providing the data. People want to know what you found. Don't just put the data just there like that and assume that people will know what it is, what differences are there. At the results section, what you need to do is just to present the results. Don't comment, don't say what it means. Okay, people who were living around marshy areas, they had more malaria than those who lived in uplands. Okay, this is what you found. Just state that. Don't try to explain why other people had more infection than others. There will be a place for you to do that, but the results is present what you found. That's what we want to know now. Even though some journals do combine the results and the discussion, I've been publishing for a while. I've not published a paper like that. So it means you can do it, but it doesn't really help. So I prefer to go by, you present your results and then you do the discussions later, and this is what we do. But if you want to send to a journal that says combine your results and the discussion, then you can provide the results and then you say what it means. But for now, let's leave that. Some examples from one article that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine. So it says, of the 447 children enrolled in the original trial, 312 completed all the 3 extensions of follow-up. See the way it's presenting. So it's giving you the number of children that were enrolled, those that completed. And then it's telling you, going forward, its efficacy was consistently lower in the cohort with high exposure to malaria parasites. And then in the end, it says, gives you where you can find this data in table 2. They don't make any comment about why there was lower whatever here. And then here it says all cases of severe malaria resolved without long-term, and then it shows you where you can find that. Doesn't make any comment about why this was so. So this is how you present your results. Present the results as they are. Sometimes people present tables and figures, or especially tables, and the information in the table is also in the text. They say there were 40% women and there are 60% men. You have to assume that this is an informed reader. This is someone who can think that if there are 40% women, the other one would be this. So you don't have to present everything that is in the table in the text again. Then you better remove the table or the figure. So just let us know what is important about this table. This is the one you put in your results section. Okay, some examples here. This is a bad example. It says table 3 shows that researchers who took this course published twice as many papers per year. I think it gives the information, but look at a better way. Researchers who took this course published twice as many papers per year, table 3. I like this one than starting with the table. If you start with the table, you are emphasizing the table. The emphasis is not on the table. The emphasis is on what the table presents, and it shows you that this is the trend. There are some further information. I think you can read it later. So we go to the discussion. You found what you found. Now is the opportunity to look at what it means. sometimes it's very difficult. When you come to write a discussion, it's a bit different from other sections of the paper because you have a lot to write, you have your findings, it could mean almost anything. So if you don't take time, you end up writing a very lengthy discussion section, but some guides might help. So you can begin with a brief summary of your findings because you are going to say what it means. So, okay, this is what we found, and then you have to now answer. This is where you comment on what your results mean. Answer the questions that way. So this is where you answer the main question about why you are doing this research and what the results actually mean and who has found similar results, who has not found. How does your results compare to other people who have done it? I often see people start their discussion in our knowledge. This is the first time. It's not important. If you are the first time to do it, and so what? Maybe nobody has done it because it's not an important question. So don't bother yourself saying this is the first time. If it was done, you wouldn't have even done the research. Research means this is a new thing you are doing. So don't open your discussion by saying, to my knowledge, I'm the first person to do this. It really doesn't matter whether you are the first, but whether it is an important thing that you found. It's important to look at what are the applications, what does your results mean in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, in terms of policymakers. What can policymakers do about this? It's important to point out if you were to meet the minister for health or so, what can you tell from your results that this minister can work on? And more typical, whether your results conform to some findings, whether it refutes them, whether you want to suggest some modification because of your findings. This is the point where you can make all these comments. You can also emphasize the strengths of your study. Maybe you have a better methods, you have more sample now. Maybe it was done before, but it was done in a small study, but now your study is bigger. It's across all of Africa. So it means your finding is stronger than others. You are allowed to say why your findings are superior. But also it is important to stress the limitations. Do not hide any limitation. The reason, normally when we review papers, most of our comments are on the limitation. You didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. It is important you think about yourself, the methods you used, the methods you did not use. What are the limitations? You try to explain them before reviewers catch them. Otherwise, they will think that you are trying to hide something or you just don't know that this is a limitation. So it's important to highlight your limitations. The discussion section is like an inverted funnel. So you start specific or small with your own findings, and then you try to broaden it up, what it means in the field, what it means to the general public. So this is how you can picture how a discussion section will be. And a good tip for writing discussion is, before you write a discussion, read other discussions that people have done in the journal that you are trying to submit to. When you read how people have discussed stuff, then you can know. Don't just use only these recommendations. Read what people have done. Any section that you want to write, read what other people have written that have been accepted. Then we come to the introduction. The reason we write the introduction at this point, when we have our methods, we have our results, we've done the discussion, is you want to introduce something that you already know about. So you know what you have found, and then you can modify the introduction, or what others call the background about it. The introduction can be short, especially when you have a word limit. Journals do impose some word limit. They say you cannot write about this. So if you want to cut down some section of your article, it's definitely not the methods or even the results, but the introduction. Because people who are reading your work normally can be from the same area, so they know the general field, so you can summarize. when you are sending papers to journals, depending on the journal, there are some general journals and there are more specific journals. If it's a more specific journal, your introduction can be short, and then you can assume that the person who is reading this, let's say you go to BMC Public Health or BMC Nutrition. BMC Nutrition is very specific. People who will come to BMC Nutrition has to be a nutritionist. So you don't have to be explaining common terms. But if you send it to a more general health science journal, like Public Health or Plus One, the people who read it are wide, so you need to explain more sometimes in your introduction. Well, so I think we've gone through almost all the sections, and after you have written all those sections, it is important to revise the paper on the whole, because sometimes you take about 1 or 2 months to write all these, and you've not had the time to actually read everything together to see how it comes together. So it's important to give yourself some time and then to read through everything before you share with others or even try to submit. I will just talk briefly about the title. Try and make it brief. Let it be short and then make it be catchy, because it's also important. The most important terminologies need to be there. I've given some guidelines. I'll not go much into it. And journals also asking for keywords, things that relate to your work. And when people do systematic reviews, they review by these keywords. So things that stand out in your research that you cannot include in the title, you put them in the keywords. The abstract. This is a very important part of your paper. And I'm sure most of you who have read research papers, sometimes this is where you end. You just read the abstract and you're like, okay, this study is not important to me, or this is not the kind of study I'm supposed to read. So make sure that you take your time, you write it last. When you know your methods, you know your results, you've done everything, you now come to write it very well, to make sure that it captures everything that you are confident that your research addresses. Sometimes some people just read the abstract and they're like, okay, they even go ahead and cite your work. But I will not advise you to do that. Before you decide to cite someone's work, it shouldn't just be based on only the abstract. It should be based on you reading the whole paper and understanding. Most journals have an organized way, a structured way of an abstract. Like it starts with an introduction, the methods, the results, and the discussion. But not a discussion, but a conclusion. So, but short, and they restrict you, they say 200 words. So in 200 words, tell us what the problem is, tell us how you solve this, tell us your most important results, and then what is the conclusion? So it's really important. It's difficult to write, but it's important to spend some time thinking about it, because largely this will be, your work will be reduced to only this. And if people read it and they are not impressed, they're like, well, we don't need this. Throughout your writing, you'll see that you have to cite other people's work. You have to do some referencing. And for those of you who have written before, it can be a pain doing referencing. They're like this one. And when you have to even do a journal article, the journal will specifically tell you how they want the references to be. So it's a lot of work. So I thought I say a few words about how to do referencing and do it properly. But the reason you have to do referencing is not because the journal is telling you to do it, because it is the right thing to do. You are not doing your research from the scratch. You are building on knowledge. So you have to give credit to other people that you are building on their work. And then it will also add some credibility to your own work that you have used some valid information. It also helps readers find further information. Sometimes I read a paper, I don't like that paper, but that paper cites a paper that I can follow to go and see the information I want. So referencing, very, 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 very important. Like I mentioned, people struggle with references. The problem is when you send a paper to a journal, it is going to be reviewed. And normally it is reviewed by people that you have cited their work because they are the people who are working in the field. So if you have cited my work and I'm the one who is reviewing it and I look at this reference and you didn't do it well, I'm like, are these people really serious? So sometimes it's not just at that point. It's the people who are going to even say that, yes, it's okay for this paper to be published. You are citing their work, and because you didn't format your references well, they are not impressed about it. They're like, if you can cite my work wrongly, instead of citing my surname first and my first name, you are citing my first name as my surname, then I don't think these are serious researchers. So sometimes it's very important to do it well because it can also add to the likelihood of your paper being published. So these are some formats where how people do, but largely just cite according to how the journal wants you to do. I think some of you might be doing references by their hand, but I will never recommend that. I doubt that anybody who has published up to 10 papers still uses their hand to do citations. No, we all use software. We all use EndNote, or we use Zotero, or we use Mendeley. Learn to use one. Even if you use 1 month to learn how to use this software, it will pay off than for you to use your hand to try and format references. It is a pain. So some of them are free. I think Mendeley, Zotero, Mendeley and Zotero are free. EndNote is paid for, but sometimes you can get access to it through your university or your library. Just try, but in whatever way, don't use your hand to do it. And the format that your journal is asking you to do, it can be available on Mendeley or EndNote already. So you don't need to do anything. You just have to just apply it and that's it. So that's the advice here. I want you to look at these citations, the one up here and then the one down here. So when you cite, it's important you also think about the person who is reading. Would they be, are you guiding them well where they can find the information? Look at this one here. It says this compound has been found in humans, dogs, rabbits, and squirrels. And then you provide 3. Okay, which of these 3 found the information on the dogs? Sometimes it doesn't really follow this way because so if I'm the one, because you also want to guide me to get further information. If I'm the one reading it, you are forcing me to read all these 3 papers before I find the one that found the information on dogs. But if you look at this one, the one down here, this compound has been found in humans. It provides the reference. Dogs provides the reference, rabbits, and squirrels. All right, it seems our paper is almost complete, and I'll just give a little pause and see if you have any questions before we go to the next bits of this webinar.
Okay, we are going to take a little questions now based on everything that Dr. Ali has shared so far. I can see so many of you in the chat saying, I'm learning a lot, I learned a lot. So if you have any question, because we still have a little part of the training coming along, so we would want to limit the questions that we're going to take now to 3. So quickly, if you have questions, raise your hand and you'll be asked to unmute. Make sure that your question is not, like the time you have to ask your question is just 15 seconds. So make it very fast. So Elfreda, you go first.
Hi, Zach, is it Ali or Zakari? If I'm not calling it properly, forgive me.
You can call me Zach.
Yeah, my question is talking about research. If we want to send a research to papers, must it be should we be a researcher or a PhD? When I mean researcher, I say a PhD student or anyone. Like for me, I'm a journalist. I do a lot of scientific, environmental, climate issues where I go to communities, take samples of water, soil, I take it to the lab to test. At the end, then when I'm done, I'll now come back and publish my report. So for instance, somebody like me, can I or am I qualified to send such research or investigation I've done for publishing or for a peer review publication, or is only meant for a PhD student or a doctorate student? Thank you.
Domin, how do you want us? Should we take all the questions before I answer, or I go straight away?
Anyone is okay by me. Just
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the question. The straight answer is no. Anybody can publish in any journal. What you have to do is you make sure it is structured according to how the journal wants it, and you have found some information that you think the readers of that journal will appreciate. What I see is I've seen a number of publications, even in the Lancet by journalists. There are different types of publications as well. You can publish a personal view, a world view, a comment, but you don't have to be a PhD holder or a PhD student or a master's before. Once you are able to write according, because sometimes as we will go into how writing well for a scientific paper, you will see that the way you possibly write as a journalist will be a bit different when you come to write for a scientific paper. If you can do that, you are we are encouraging people who normally will not consider themselves researchers to also publish, because the perspective they come from can be very, very important, because researchers can be in a kind of a bubble, and so I'll say you don't have to have any PhD at all. I started my first publication when I finished my undergrad, and I was not a PhD. So yeah.
Thank you. So can I reach out to you in future if I have such thing? Maybe you can guide me and do anything of such. Is it possible? Can I reach out to you?
Sure. At the end of the presentation, you'll see my email, and I'm sure, or maybe yeah, so you can reach out to me and we can have a discussion.
Thank you.
Focus, please ask your question in 15 seconds.
Thank you. So my question is, if I'm reading your paper and I want to use it as a reference, so, if you have mentioned a paragraph and referenced someone else, so will I use you as a reference, or I will use the one who you have referenced? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that the ideal is for you to reference the original. But sometimes you want to reference the original, but it is behind paywall. You cannot access the full text. So there's another way. You can say in Ali et al. So there's a way you can do that. You can reference me, but you say originally from this. So that's it. But if you can, always reference the original source. Just follow the reference, go and find it and reference that one.
Thank you.
Okay, the last person we are going to take for now is Oyon Gatum. I hope that I get that right.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Dr. Ali, thank you for the presentation. It's quite informative, and I think we are learning a lot. I wanted your clarity on two things. One, how old should the data be for it to be published? For example, if I did my study about 5 years ago, can I still publish it? Or it is already expired data? And then the other part is regarding rejection. Most of these journals, when you do submission, you get rejection. What you do, drop the journal or look for lower journal that can accept your work. But also, I wanted your view on about the predator journals. I think those three, because you find a person sends you emails and then you try to submit, and before you know, it isn't something else. So please clarify for me on those three. Thanks.
First, the data. I don't think data expires. Once you have found an important thing, anytime you have time to write it up for the right journal, it will be published. sometimes there are review papers where they analyze GDHS, DHS data from 19 what up to, but they are not emphasizing the dates of those data. They are emphasizing the trend of what they have found in those data over time. So I don't think data expires. I think your other question was about, is it rejection? I'll talk briefly about rejection, but when you are rejected, think about why it was rejected. Sometimes there's some feedback. Try and address those comments and then send it to that same journal or send it to another journal. The other one is predatory journals. I'll talk about predatory journals later. But it's really important, especially for us, people in academia who are under pressure to publish, and this publishing landscape is very, very tough. So people just fall for these predatory journals, and it's very bad for your reputation. When I see that you're publishing a predatory journal, I'm like, yeah. So, but people make mistakes, so you can't really judge them. But it's important you know what these are. So I'll talk about them later on quickly.
Okay. Taufika, we are going to take your question later because we have just 15 minutes to conclude the session. So please just hold on to the last set of Q&A that we have. Is that okay? Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Ali.
Yeah, thank you. I think in the interest of time, I will really go quickly over the slides because maybe we needed more time than this to be able to go through. Yeah. So I'll just go on to, well, about once you have all your sections written, you have to now do editing because it's really important to improve your own work before you even send it to your mentors, because people don't have time to be correcting your grammatical errors and stuff. So you do your own editing. So the way you would do this editing is you are looking for content, the precision, make it more precise, and clarity so that it will be clear. You don't want to be ambiguous about what you want to say. In science, we want to say what we mean or what the data is saying. And consistency, let me just mention a bit about this. Consistency is really, really important. Even consistency in font size, font types, the way your main headings are in caps. Some of them are in caps, some of them are in what? No, just be consistent. If your main headings are in 14, let all main headings be 14. If your subheadings are in 12, let all be 12. If your main text is Calibri, let all be Calibri, not Calibri, all this over and there. It puts people off. It means you've not taken the time to actually read through. And it also means you just copy stuff somewhere and paste it. So consistency, everything needs to be consistent. The way you format your tables should be the same. This table is looking like this table is looking, no, consistency is really, really, really important. Make sure that everything, the space between your section and the next section should be consistent throughout. Once you do some editing or you do your writing, it's really important to leave the work aside for some time before you come back to it. So maybe 1 or 2 weeks before you come back to it. You will read things and catch some grammatical errors that you'll be shocked. You're like, am I the one who really wrote this? But if you were in a hurry to submit it or to send it to your professor, the professor will catch those things because they are reading it for the first time. So give it some time and then read it again and make your edits. Sometimes even printing it out, especially those who are doing thesis. The full draft as it is appearing on your computer is different. It can be different when you print it out. You're like, oh, this space is different. This is looking different. So you can catch some stuff that way. Sometimes reading it aloud also helps. So when you read things in silence, it might sound some way. But when you begin to read it aloud, you're like, oh, no, this is not how I want it to be. I have some guidelines here. It says readers should be able to understand a sentence on first reading. Once they read it, they should understand it. They shouldn't have to read it again and again because this sentence is too long that, I mean, we don't even know what you are saying. And each idea should be followed logically from the previous one. You present one idea, and then the next idea. And we say good writing is almost always shorter than bad writing. Let it be short, but it takes time for you to be able to do that. Sometimes I read some people's work and it's just like they are speaking. No, writing should be different from you. You are not speaking. Yeah. So words should be chosen for their precise meaning. Apart from technical terms, scientific writing does not need to be different from other forms of writing. So the journalist that was asking the question, writing is the same, except that maybe there are some complicated terms that will be used in the science writing, or the way we even structure stuff. If it is possible to cut a word out, always cut it. You read this word is not adding anything, remove it or something. So some of the stuff constitutes, so avoid using complicated stuff. This is not where you show that you know grammar or you know English. You want the person to understand what you have found. That is the most important one. So it's things like on daily basis. Daily, it saves you so many other words. Constituted, I think it was situated in immediate vicinity. This should be, by the way, next to. It has been shown that, well, all those, you can remove them. So it has been shown that plasma, whatever, you can start plasma, this is decreasing. Okay, so what is a simple word that can be used for this? Red in color. Simply say red. What about in the event that, in case? Provide an explanation. Explain. Stuff like that. So you go through, you see that you have used some of these things at this point in time. Now, you replace some of these because they are always restricting how much you should write. So you want to remove all these and use the most simplest form that is understood. Even these recommendations, tips, we can, if we are doing a proper scientific writing, we can remove a lot. Readers should understand a sentence on first reading. The able can go. Each idea should follow logically from previous one. As possible can go. So this is it. So as you read, you are not just reading, you're looking at what are the less useful words that I can remove to make this thing as short as possible. This was going to be an exercise. Notes later. All this plenty writing, you can summarize it with this. You can read it later. Yeah. It says, I will never use a long word where a short one would answer the purpose. I know there are professors in this country who ligate arteries. Well, if you take your time to read it, you see that you can already remove some words and replace others. So when you are revising your work, this is what you are looking out for. What are the redundant sentences? You've said something and you are saying it again and again. The person has heard you, or they've read it, they know that you have said it. Don't say it again. The important assumption is just know that the person who is reading is an intelligent person, is an informed reader, but they don't know what you have found. They are looking for what you have found. That's what is important. That's why they want to cite your work. Okay. What about this? Patients in group 1 had higher death rates when compared to patients in group 2. Can you try to summarize this? Maybe in your head quickly?
Yeah, we can give one person a chance to speak up if they want to. So if you want to revise this exercise like Dr. Ali has explained, could you just quickly raise your hand, unmute yourself and just quickly.
I think they are still thinking. Yeah, let me give you my version, and then you can think around it. More patients died in group 1 than in group 2. Can you imagine how many words we cut down? This is what you would be doing, or you should be doing, because those plenty words is just taking up space and it doesn't make it clear. Well, I've put together, I would recommend that you try and write this. You try and read all of these. They are very, very useful. Writing a better research article, reporting on the methods, how to report the results in public health. These are papers written just to help you. And then this one, the elements of style. I can't stop even reading it myself. If nothing at all, you should read this one, the elements of style. Read the introduction. And now some ethical issues, if I can go through. Before you do some research, it's very important to seek ethical approval. Normally, there are committees to review your work and to make sure that you're not doing any harm to anybody or the society or everything. So that's important. But then there's also plagiarism. Sometimes when you are a beginner, you see a sentence and it's like, okay, this is really what I want to say. And you are tempted to just put it there. Once you put it there, it's plagiarism. So because the reason you are tempted is because the person has taken the time to edit and edit and edit until they got a perfect sentence. So you see it and you're like, yeah, this is really what I want to say. The moment you are tempted and you put it there, it is plagiarism. Try and read the thing and get the meaning and then frame it in your own words. This is the only way you can avoid plagiarism. Never attempt to copy something and paste and now edit. No, read it, get what they want to say, and write it in your own words. Otherwise, you will always be caught with plagiarism. And journals, they have a plagiarism checker. It's called Authenticate. Once you put it there, if you are plagiarized, it will come back to you. It will tell you that it's patchy, or you see that. Even universities, they have this, turn it in, they'll catch you. So please, plagiarism is really important because I cannot sit down for 2 hours trying to edit my work and you just copy it. So, and then we have data falsification. So you manipulate. You were supposed to find a difference between men and women, you didn't find it. And then you change your data points to make sure you find it. This is very, very bad. Look, in research, everything is publishable. If you were supposed to find a difference and you didn't find it, that is the finding. It is publishable. You are supposed to publish it. Maybe you are not supposed to find a difference. How about that? So there's no point in manipulating your data. You found what you found, you did your best, publish it, and it will be published. Data fabrication is even the worst. You make up the data. You didn't do any research at all. You just made up the data. This is very serious. And then authorship, as I mentioned, don't just put people because you think if they are there, they will increase your. I've seen this in a lot of African settings. Sometimes even somebody, a junior researcher, writes the paper, his name is not there, or the name is last, or the name is middle somewhere. We need to try and change some of these. Let's give credit to the people who deserve it. Somebody who never even read the paper name is there. So as we are young people, we are starting. These are the stuff that we need to have. And then predatory journals. People are under considerable pressure to publish, and there are other people who are also out there ready to get your money because you want to publish. So it's not a proper journal. They will not do any proper peer review. What they do is they take your work and then they convert it into a PDF and put it on their website. You will not get any credit for this work. And sometimes in proper universities, you are going to be penalized for publishing in them. Or even if you apply for promotion with them, they are not going to credit you with them. If I am reviewing your work, I know what a predatory journal is. If you sign a paper for promotion and it is in a predatory journal, I'm not going to credit you for it. So don't just, I'll talk a bit about it later, but watch out which journals you send your work to. Once you've done all these and your paper is now ready, you've edited and edited and edited, and if everybody is happy about it, you now submit it to a journal. And this is the process it goes through. It goes through the editor, someone like me, and then they will read it, depending on their expertise. And sometimes outright, they're like, look, you didn't follow our guidelines, this is not enough, this is crap. They'll reject it outright. It will come back to you, but they'll give you some reason, like my other friend was asking. Don't give up. Based on those reasons, and then update it. No journal is going to reject your article by not saying things. I've seen some instances where they reject your paper and they say, we didn't get reviewers that are suitable. It's not a rejection. Actually, the journal cannot handle your paper. You send it elsewhere. But if they give reasons, try and address them. Because if you send it elsewhere, it will come up. Or even the editor might even be a reviewer for that journal you are sending to. They'll be like, oh, I rejected this one in +1. Why is it here? So always address the comments. Or the editor is happy with it. He sends it out to people who are working in this field for them to review. And it goes through the process. The reviewers will give their comments, and based on the comments, the editor might accept your paper and you can celebrate, or he can reject it, or she can reject it, and still you have comments, or they ask you to do some revisions. I have hardly seen any paper that has just gone through and then it's been accepted. No, you always get some comments of some form. Try and separate yourself from your work or your manuscript. When you get the comments, it feels like they are hitting at you. No, they are not hitting at you. They are hitting at your work. They are seeing things that you are not seeing because they are so attached to your own work. So when you get the comments, read the comments, leave the comments for about 1 or 2 weeks, come back to read them, and you begin to accept and say, oh, I think this reviewer is actually right. We should have done this, we should have done that. Try and do. If there's something you cannot do, try and explain why you cannot do, instead of just being offended. So I just wanted to show some few instances where there is unethical practice, because it's really important. Presenting published information as new information is a form of unethical. Presenting someone else's findings as your own, because maybe you are working in the same lab, somebody has found something, you are aware of it, and you are fast to write it up. No, it's plagiarism. They can provide data to prove that they are the original owners, and your paper will be taken down. Presenting someone else's findings without a citation, like just copying and pasting. Sometimes people just do it without even citing. And then what people don't also understand is if you copy a substantial amount of text from past publications, even with a citation, you cite it, but because it is too much with that citation, it's still plagiarism. You've plagiarized because those words were not put together by yourself. So don't just think that once you cite, that's it. You put the citation there so you can escape plagiarism. No, always make sure you read, you make sense of it, and then you write in your own words. And sometimes too, people just repeat their own work without a citation or the method section. They've used almost the same methods for this work. So they just copy and paste and or do some little tweaking to it. That's also plagiarism. You can plagiarize your own work. So those are a few. I thought this could be a useful exercise. A shopkeeper cleverly changes the sell-by or expiry date on food items so they can be kept longer on the shelf. What is this called? This is data falsification. You have falsified the data. The data is there. The expiry date is there. You've just changed it. A student copies paragraphs from a textbook to answer questions in an assignment because she thinks it is fine to do so. Who will agree? Is this fine? If you think this is fine, raise your hand. All right, this is called unintentional plagiarism. But in science, we don't care whether you knew or not. Unfortunately, this is why we have to attend something like this. A student has not studied for his examination and copies the writing of his neighbor in the next example. Yeah, it's also plagiarism, but this is intentional. And then a professor is on the selection committee for a scholarship for which her nephew is applying. Is this ethical? So what is this called? This is conflict of interest. When they invite you for something, as you become senior, like me, I've received papers, I'm an editor, I've received papers from my past professors. I'm like, no, I cannot edit this one because I cannot, I mean, I can be objective, but I don't, if it ends up this paper is not accepted, I don't, yeah. So once I have some relation with you, I say, no, I don't want to handle this. I don't want to have this conflict of interest. Okay, so it says, a researcher presents ideas or findings from other published papers as his own instead of citing those papers. So these are some exercises. This is intentional. Well, more examples. You can read them later, but more examples, because it's important. Sometimes people are under pressure, so they do all sorts of things. Okay, so briefly to talk about these predatory journals. All they want is they are doing business. Publication is about, because you have to pay what they call article processing fee to publish in proper journals for open access. These fake journals, let me call them that way. What they want is, they want the money, they don't want to do all the work of peer review, hiring a proper editor and things, no. All they want is, okay, send us your paper, we'll publish it within 2 weeks, and then you get your paper published, and then you pay us $100 or $200 or something. And because you are also under pressure, you are an assistant lecturer, you want to go to a senior lecturer, you want publications, you're like, okay, I can pay $100, and then you send it to them. No, you'll be found out. So these are some of the ways they do. How you can identify them is they have a broad scope. They publish everything from humans, animals, everything you send to them, they will publish. So when you see a journal that almost publish everything, be careful. It can be a predatory. The reason they publish everything is they want every paper so that they can get the money. So they say unrealistically short-stated turnaround times. In proper journals, it takes up to 4 to 6 months, sometimes 1 year for you to get it published. If they say they will publish within 2 weeks, my brother, this is a fake journal. And then they have a flashy but poorly crafted ungrammatical websites. You go to the website of a journal that you are supposed to write well to, and there are grammatical errors. You are like, no, I don't want to publish here. Proper journal websites are proper. And then it has metrics. It says I have impact factor of whatever, which you cannot trace. And then it has incomplete information. You don't know where the journal office is. Sometimes they say it's in the US. You check the address and it's some street. So this is how you can identify that this is a fake journal. And once you start publishing, this is what will happen to you. Your email address as a corresponding author is always available. So they can get it. They harvest it, and then they start sending you emails. Look, I am now working in obstetrics and gynecology, but I get an email from this journal asking me to send an article. And they are even giving me time. I should submit by 28th of August. Proper journals will hardly ever write to you that you should send them a paper. You would normally go to them. So once the person is telling you, submit to us, this is just last week, 8th August, that they sent me this. And just when I was preparing this presentation yesterday, I got another one. It's not only predatory journals, there are predatory conferences. A conference that is supposed to be a proper scientific forum for discussion. They are now also organizing it because conferences do charge for registration and other stuff. So they organize a conference, it is a predatory conference. So before you go to a conference, consult your mentor. Before you send a paper somewhere, consult your mentor. This is sometimes they are so cunning and it looks so real that if you don't consult someone who is in this for some time, I remember after my first publication, I started getting these emails and I'll forward it to my professor. He's like, no, ignore them. Because I was so excited that people are noticing me and they're asking me to send more papers. So if you are preparing to publish or if you have just published your first paper, these are the temptations, but resist them. Never, never, never. Because these papers, they are not, you will not get any academic credit for them. It's just like, right, it's better you even put it on your Twitter page or your Facebook page than to send it to these people. And they'll even collect money on top. There's this paper, I think will be good if you get the time to read it. I'll use my final moment just to talk about posters. Once you've done the research, whether you've published it or not, it's important to present it to your peers so that people can critique it, give you some feedback. You can do it after you publish or just before you publish, depending on the conference. Sometimes they tell you, we will not accept published work. We want new work that has not been published. So it depends. But whichever way you've done the research, you have to present it somewhere to credible conferences, because they are also predatory conferences. For those ones, any abstract you send, they will accept it, and then they will ask you to pay conference registration. These days is now online, so you go there. Yeah, you have attended the conference, but this is not a credible conference. Nobody is going to credit you for it. So these are some, you have to keep the title short. The poster is just like an abstract, but it also includes some, you can include some graphs and other illustrations. You have to make it large enough, and then make sure that it is self-explanatory. When you go to a proper conference, your poster, you print it, you paste it somewhere. Sometimes in some conferences, they will project it, whichever way. And you stand there, people come and read, they go through all the posters, they come to yours, they ask you some questions. But make sure that even if you are not standing there and somebody wanders across your poster, they should be able to understand what you did and what you found. So I'll just show you some, this is some posters that we did sometime. We're engaging. So different posters can serve different purposes. We were engaging policymakers, and this is the kind of posters that we did. Let it be catchy. When someone sees it from afar, they want to read it, they want to see it. And then if you have already published it, now in the age of technology, try and add a link to your paper and a QR code. People are moving around the conference with their phones. Once they see they are interested in your work, they will scan your QR code, it sends them to your work, and they will read it. This is another one. If you see this one pasted somewhere, you would like to, I would have wanted us to comment on what you like and what you don't like about it, but maybe we can go to the Q&A session because of time. All right, I'll end here. Thank you very much, everyone. We can do some Q&A.
So I have learned that no matter how much you think you know in this field, you would always learn more. And I am grateful that, you know, we are not just learning from anybody, it's you. And we really appreciate your time. So we are going to take some questions now. You guys know the drill already. This is our 5th session. So you are going to turn up, raise your hand, unmute yourself, introduce yourself from where you are asking your question from, and you have less than 30 seconds to go through your questions. And please, everybody would have to ask one question each so that we can take others. So please don't be selfish with your questions. If you have more questions, feel free to send them to Dr. Ali's email is right on the screen for everybody. So Taufika, you can go first.
Good day, everyone. I'm Taufika Ibrahim from Nigeria. My question is there any particular duration between conducting the study and publishing it? For instance, now, assuming I conducted a study in 2022, is it okay to publish it now or it's gone? Thank you.
Thanks, Taufika. I think this is related to a question that but yes, you can always publish your work. Even me, if I have not published my BSc thesis, I can still go and do it. But there's a lot of procrastination. The reason you have not published it up till now could still hold you up. So whilst you're doing the research, the moment you finish it and you are still in the enthusiasm, I think this is the best time to try and write it up, because this is the time you know a lot about the stuff. But if this is now you have the motivation to publish it, data does not expire. You can always publish it. Just get the right journal and then make the case. I don't think reviewers will say this is old data. Sometimes they might say maybe things have changed, but this is where you can also put in your discussion. You discuss how things may have changed from the time that you conducted your research, but you can always publish your work once it's yours.
All right. Simeon, I know you were next, so please unmute yourself and ask just one question in 30 seconds.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Zakari. And the quick question I want to ask is with respect to AI. So we have a lot of AIs out there to assist in writing our journals. And again, there are still a lot of AI to also search and know if you are actually dubbing your work from AI stuff. So how does AI come to play in our research work? How do we use it effectively without necessarily plagiarizing or something, stuff like that? Thank you.
Thank you. I think AI has come to stay. We have to take advantage of its capabilities. You can use it to check your grammar and other things. I don't think AI is really very good at generating new ideas because it's just, it knows what people have put out there, and what people have put already out there is for them. So we can still have an advantage, but when you do use AI, it's better you acknowledge how you have used it. Did you use it for editing or whatever means how you used it? You can put it either in the methods. At this point, we use AI to do this. We use this kind of AI to do this, or you can put it in the acknowledgements. What I don't recommend is to put it as an author because it cannot be an author. But journals also have some recommendations regarding use of AI. So do check for those ones when you want to submit work that you have used AI. But it can also help you try to rephrase some stuff, depending on how you want to use it.
Okay, so Aisha, you're next.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, my name is Aisha Ahmed and I'm tuning in from Kenya. Thank you very much for the presentation. My question is, how do you organize the sources that you're using for your literature review? Because I find it difficult to organize which paper said what and how I'm going to be able to use it before I begin my writing process, simply when I'm putting together everything that I have been using. So how do you minimize that confusion? Do you have a system for that? Thank you.
Yeah, I think all of us have that problem. There are so many times I read a paper, it finds something interesting, and then maybe I close the window, or I'm not searching to cite that paper and I can't find it. And I'm like, so those things happen. There are ways to solve it. Sometimes you just have to be searching whilst you are writing. You're writing your introduction, you are writing and you are searching as well. Or you can just copy the references and their summaries into the introduction section. So what you make out of this is the introduction section. You're not writing it, but you're reading. So you read this paper, it finds something, you write what it finds, and then you just put the reference over there. So when you come to expand on your introduction, all those stuff are there. Sometimes at some point you really don't need it again, but this is one thing you can do. Another way is if you're using a citation manager like EndNote, what you can do is, I think there are comments over there or notes. So, and you can also even add the PDF on your EndNote. I encourage you to try and search out. So you read your works in EndNote. So the PDF is there, everything is there. So as you read, you summarize and put in the notes and save. So when you come and you have a folder for that work. So all the papers you've read for that work, they are in that EndNote folder. You click on this citation, you see the notes you did, and then if it is important, you are going to use it. Otherwise, well, you always run into, I read a paper, it was so interesting, now I want to cite it, I don't remember who did it. It always happens. You have to find another one.
Okay, Pascaline, you are the last person, so please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ali, for the presentation. I'm Pascal Onyetibe from Nigeria. So I want to know if one person can author a paper. Like, can a paper have just one author as, just an individual as the author? Thank you.
Yes. It depends on field. If you are in the social sciences, they really encourage these ones. People in history, yeah, they have what, so they have single authors. But in public health, because of the nature of the work we do, it's possible you can do that. But normally other people have contributed somehow that they need to be authors. But if you really think that this is something I did by myself, why not? You can go ahead. But me as an editor, when I see that one person has done something, I'm always like, how is it that he's alone doing this? It just makes me scrutinize more rather than, and if it's a systematic review, one person cannot do it anyway, because the requirement is that the papers need to be evaluated by two people. The person who was your co-reviewer need to be an author. So the way our work is done is such that normally you will have more than one author. But if the circumstances of your work is that you are the sole author, yeah, you can always be. There are so many authors and papers that are sole authors.
I have one last question. So I've seen that most of the time when you're trying to put together a research paper, for me, I love to like read a lot of work before I get like a concrete idea for my methods or anything that I have to put together. But there are times that when I get to the stage of writing, I just, an idea pops up. I know that this thing is obvious, like this is a known fact, but I cannot just seem to find the paper to take a reference for, because I know that, of course, I'm not the one that did the work, but I know that probably I've edited conferences or I've read it somewhere, but then I cannot just find a paper to make reference for. In that kind of situation, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. It depends how you state that thing. Don't state it as a fact. Just state it in a different way that is some idea that is building up. This is an argument that is coming up in the field that needs maybe further investigation. But yeah, if it was something you read somewhere, you forgot the reference, then I would say keep digging until you find it. Otherwise, the author knows they did it, and if you were to publish your work without giving them credit, they would rather they might read it and they will not be happy. Or they might be the people who are reviewing your work and they're like, how come you are presenting this here and my work is not cited? So yeah, the research world is very small. If you are working in, say, diabetes, the people who are working in diabetes, they are not in Africa, they are not thousands. So if you write your work on that field and you send it to a journal, it's likely going to go to the people who have generated this evidence over time. And if you have used their idea without citing them, they'll think that you have not read wide, or they will just think you just want to plagiarize their work. So yeah, otherwise, if it's something that is popping in your mind, it could be a new thing that is coming that you are trying to discover something. Yeah, so you can put it there as I described. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It has been a very interesting and amazing session. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali. You're going to be getting more correspondence from Alona and also our program lead, Mutili. We really, really appreciate your time today to teach us about writing, dissemination, and ethics in research. So everybody, please feel free to reach out to Dr. Zakari Ali. We are going to be sharing this recording after, and also a slides presentation, because I believe it's an amazing resource for all us to have in our repository. Thank you so much, Dr. Ali, for the session. Take care.
Thank you for organizing, and thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you so much. Take care.